Hi, it's Janet Wakeland with RemarkablyCreated.com here with a One Take Wonder video. Today is part one of a three-part series on ribbon techniques. You can simply choose to follow along on the videos, or you can take a look at the class that I'm offering. That is a three-part class. There's no obligation to do all three parts. You can simply just do the first or the second one or the third one. You don't need to be part of, again, all three of them. But the first class does include this stand while supplies last, so that you're going to create a really nice tabletop reference tool to have in your crafting. It will come with the 2 loose leaf rings, and the initial class includes 7 cards that are already completed for you. You will just need to punch them out and add them to the rings or to the frame, and then you will also receive 3 completed cards and envelopes. You'll also receive a PDF that has 7 images, 1 for each one of the cards. And then the next 2 classes include 10 cards, 9 to 10 cards, 3 completed cards, and a PDF to match the techniques of all of them. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at today's 7 ribbon ideas. What we're starting with is really just the basics of the basics. There's so many different things that you can do with ribbon, lots and lots of options out there for you. Ribbon just really adds kind of a nice fun element to your projects. So again, these are just the basic of the basics. And let me, hold on one second, let's do these a little bit in an order so they make sense. Let's put that one just aside for just a minute. Have them all bagged up just to make it easy for me. And let's pull that. And ribbon, and we'll go ahead. One of the things about working with ribbon is you're going to want a nice pair of ribbon scissors, something that cuts through all different weights and textures of ribbon cleanly and smoothly, and Stampin' Up's ribbon scissors do just that. Assorted size handheld punches, or just regular punches that you can use to reach in and create holes. I also like to occasionally use dimensionals, and you'll see where I will be using glue dots as well on some of the projects. So when you receive the book, you get 5x7, not 5x7, a quarter sheet of cardstock that has the name of the bow with some basic instructions on it. You'll also receive a master of these to work with as part of the class, and they are only available as part of the class. And then when I work with ribbon, I do like to take and angle the ends. It makes it a little bit easier to get them through the holes. Get my fingers on this here for just a second. And I see I don't have my paper piercing tool, so we'll just use the fine point here. What we're working with is something called a flat bow. You see flat bows used a lot in the wedding industry. It's used to hold vellum over top of an invitation, pages of a program together. You see them on menus and things like that. And so I've just created 2 holes. You can space them as wide as you want. The wider you space them, obviously the larger the center knot would be. And I've just fed the 2 ends to what would be the back side of the project. I'm going to pull this one over tight just like this. I'm going to take my bow, or the end of my ribbon rather, excuse me, and feed it up through just like that. And then I'm going to take the other one and do the same thing. And I'm just going to feed it up through my hole. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'll clean up my ends just a little bit. And so that would be your flat bow, just like that. Let me see if I can show you an example on a card. This is a card here that has silver flat bow. It does have our silver fancy foil vellum on top, the happy birthday message on top of our foil cardstock. So you can see how this is used to anchor that vellum down, and you don't have to worry about adhesive showing through your vellum. Instead, it's just being held with the ribbon. So that's your basic flat bow. The next step from that, let's take a look at this, is what would be called a flat bow with loops. And we'll go ahead and get another piece here. We'll go ahead and get our punch. And we're going to take our piece. This is our Pacific point. And we're going to just do like we did in the very beginning. We're going to feed it the whole way through, just like that. And then when we cross it over, Instead of feeding the end of the ribbon through, what we're going to do is we're going to feed a loop through, and you're simply just going to fold it, and then you're just going to use your paper piercing tool, pointy edge of your scissors, to force that loop back through to the front, and you'll have a nice loop there on the front. And then let's take the other one, form a loop, and we're going to go ahead and again push that into the hole, and then we can adjust it just like that. These extra pieces here you can either secure with a little bit of snail to hold it down in place, put a little piece of sticky strip over it, and then of course you can pull the ends back here to adjust the different sizes of your loops. So let's take a look at what that would look like on a finished project. I know I have one here somewhere. And this, I cheated a little bit. Instead of finishing off the ends, they come around behind, but that would be a flat bow just like that on this project here that you can see. But again, just for variation, I let the edges come out. So that is your flat bow. Another option is something called a flat bow with loops and tails. And let's just go ahead and, do I have a slightly bigger punch here? Yes, I do. Oops, sorry about that. Whip that right out in front of the screen and you. So let's just go ahead. I'm working with a little bit bigger hole punch because I'm working with a little thicker, heavier ribbon. And we'll go ahead, feed that to the back. So those steps are the same. And I'm also going to be pushing a lot through these holes, so I wanted a bigger hole to work with. Just like I did with the one with the loops, we're going to go ahead and form a loop and press it through, and you'll have your loop. And then we'll do the same thing again over here. We're going to press our loop through, cinch our loops down to the size that we want them to be. So you can see I've got just our basic flat bow with loops right there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the tails and we're going to bring them also up to the front. And depending on the size of your ribbon, this will create a little bulk on the back of your card. And so when I work with these, a lot of times what I like to do then is use dimensionals. But there you can see now we have our flat bow with tails. So that's another type of bow that you have. So let's set that aside. Very ultra simple basic bow is one that is simply just a hand. Oops, and let me back up for just a second. This is one of the bows that is the loops pulled through to the front and the tails. And then a little way that I love to finish the ends of my ribbon is by taking a two-way glue stick and covering the ends with that glue and then dipping them in different kinds of glitter, and that will keep your ends from fraying and just adds a pretty little touch to your ribbon, as you can see on this card here. So that's an example of a card there. This is our really fun denim ribbon, and all you're going to do, there's a couple of different ways that you can make a handheld bow. Some people like to make 2 rabbit ears and just wrap them together and push it through. Straighten out my loop there for a second. And so some people just like to do that. Another option is to hold it in your hand. I like to wrap it around, and then I take and I start to form a loop, and it's the loop that I push through, and then I can go ahead and I can adjust the length of my ribbon. So it's just kind of a matter of preference. So there's 2 different ways to make a handheld bow. And then I would just simply use adhesive to go ahead and put it on my card wherever I want it to be. So that's a hand-tied bow. And then just an example of that. Here's, oops. Flip the tail under. And here's my handheld bow, just a simple little bow then that was added with adhesive over top the stem of this flower on this card. So just a real simple little bow for that one. Another way to do a bow is to go ahead and create holes for it. And so you have your project, and that one's going to be, we'll use this one. It'll work. And let's go ahead and move some of this stuff off to the side. is to simply use the holes to help you. This one is very much like tying your shoes. Instead of calling it the regular tied bow with 2 holes, you could just simply call it the shoelace bow as well too. So you're just going to tie it, make a little loop just like you were tying shoes. That's exactly how this bow is done. But it gives you the holes, which gives you something to stabilize the bow as you're working. And you don't need any adhesive on your card then. So again, just real simple, another little way. Oops, I don't like that. Let's do this again. Feed my loop through. Sometimes I feel like I need music. Definitely don't want me singing to you, but so you're going to have your bow, and of course you're going to futz with it just a little bit, playing with your loops and things like that. And here's what it looks like on a card. Here I punched 2 holes and just threaded the black ribbon through and added it to the front of this card, just like that. Another way to do it is with what is called just a knotted tie. This is absolutely my favorite because you don't have to worry about loops or any of that kind of stuff. I thought I had extra cards. There they are. And all you're going to do is just simply wrap your ribbon around your project. You're going to take them and you're going to tie them into a knot. This is the one that I like to use a lot on masculine cards. Cards that I want to have a little bit more of a rustic feel to them. I don't want them to be kind of foofy with bows. And yes, you can use ribbon on manly cards, and I'm going to show you one here in just a second. So again, just a nice simple little tie. And here's an example of that. Our basic gray ribbon is perfect on this card, and this is easily a card that you could give to a man. So you've got your knotted tie, and you've got that on there. And then another one that you have, another option. Let's do this. To work with our ribbon. Let's just use a glue dot. I don't have the snail adhesive in front of me. We'll just put a piece of snail on here. So you're going to take a length of ribbon, and whatever size card it is, you're going to go ahead and just cut a piece of ribbon the length that it takes to wrap it around to the back of your card, to the back of the layered piece that you're working on. And then you're going to take another length of ribbon, and you're going to go ahead and just tie it on the piece that you have there. And again, it's just very similar then to working with a shoelace and tying it. And some people find this just another easier way to put bows on their cards. And let's just go ahead and we'll pull that one down just like that. And here you can see on this card here, I just simply wound the Coastal Cabana twine through the holes, and then I just tied this piece here is the piece that's extra that's tied onto the top of that. And then another tip for you, well, we'll retie that in a minute. Another tip for you, one of the things is if I really want my tails or my ends to stick in a specific direction, then I go ahead and I use glue dots under them so that they'll stay exactly the way that I want them to, laying in the direction that I think is appealing. So I'll go ahead and I'll lay a glue dot down and under them. Here's another example of a flat bow, and I just wanted to show you what was in this package. In addition to everything else that I mentioned, the frame with the first class, the 3 finished cards and envelopes, the finished technique sheets, the 7 of them, you're also going to receive 7 yards of ribbon. And each month it will vary, but it will be an assortment of new Stampin' Up! Ribbon. And here you can see that this month everybody received the Summer Starfruit Striped, some of our chevron ribbon, some of our in-color stitched gumball, our Cherry Cobbler or our Daffodil Delight seam binding, some of our beautiful stitched gray, our Bermuda Bay Narrow, and our silver. So, and it comes all packaged in this cute little bag with an example of how to do a flat bow as well. So if you're interested in a class, again, I still have some of the frames left, or you can just simply tune in next month when I do part 2 of the series with lots more ideas for using ribbon on your project, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more advanced, although I really don't think of these projects as advanced. It's just all kinds of different ways to use ribbon. So again, thank you for stopping by, and I look forward to sharing more ideas with you next month with ribbon. Take care. God bless.